Yep, I got you.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us this afternoon. We appreciate your time. We're going to go ahead and get started with questions. I know you have a hard out here in just a bit. So we will take our first question from Kelly Crandall. Kelly, go ahead with your question.
Thanks. Hey, Denny. In a season that is so unique and a bit challenging, I guess you could say, what is it going to mean for a team to go into the playoffs and run deep into the playoffs and maybe ultimately win a championship in a season that is going to be so memorable and, again, just so unique for so many different reasons?
Well, I think that anytime you can show versatility in adverse conditions, you're kind of showing your strength, and I think that that's kind of what we've done this year. Is with everything that's changed, we've just done a phenomenal job of keeping it all together, and if anything, kind of exceeding in these extreme situations. So I think it shows strength. Certainly your preparation before you even get to the racetrack, with the limited amount to no amount of practice. So I think it, me personally, I take a lot of pride in it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, we're going to take our next question from Bob Pockris. Bob, go ahead.
Yeah, Denny, for the Daytona Road Course, there's a lot of chatter on whether they'll add an extra chicane there coming off of turn 4. As a driver, when do you need to know whether that's going to be there or not?
Probably before you go in your simulator, especially if there's no practice. I find it really, really interesting that they're not going to have any practice at a track that 95% of us have not run a lap. And when you talk about, someone said, well, why not just have a competition caution at lap 5? I said, well, it ain't going to be competition. It's just going to be a caution. We're more than likely going to be running pace laps for a while anyway. I really personally would have liked to saw some, just even 30 minutes to kind of get us acclimated to some breaking points and whatnot. But I definitely understand the owner side of it and NASCAR side of it, where you don't want to have to prepare backup cars just in case. And heck, maybe even, here I'm just politicking through you guys, but like, why not have the implication of knowing that, hey, this 30-minute practice session, if you wreck, you're finished last, just like you would in the race. Because if someone's going to wreck in that 30-minute practice session, they're more than likely was going to wreck in the race anyway. So I think that, we can take it easy. We can go slow and make sure we just get acclimated before we go green and kind of you don't want to put on a bad race that's just filled with cautions. And I worry that could be the case. But, as a driver, the chicane part, I think you probably need to know a month in advance. It's probably the right number.
Thank you.
You got it. If you could get my message out too, Bob, I'd appreciate it.
I'm sorry, what?
If you could get my message out too, I would appreciate it.
Do my best.
All right, next question is going to come from Claire B. Lang. Claire, go ahead with your question.
Thanks. Denny, you dominated the field last fall to win at Texas, leading, 119, I think, of 335 laps. How much, with the heat of the day and the hot, slick racetrack and no practice, with that kind of a background at Texas, how much does that change what you think you can accomplish there?
Maybe a little bit. The conditions are definitely going to be hotter than what we've had there before. We're all assuming that the PJ1 will be sprayed the same. That's a 50-50 crapshoot at this point, whether that's going to be the same and in the same line. But, I think we're going to use probably some notes from the previous races there last year. This is one of the few racetracks, well, not few, but one of the racetracks where you don't have a rules change with the aerodynamic or engine package from last year. So we will take, we'll take into account weather and all that stuff to figure out what kind of car we need to take to that racetrack to be successful. And hopefully we guess right.
You were gutted after Indy, you had said, and that was a good word to describe it in one word. You finished 12th at Kentucky. How long did it take you to get kind of out of that Indy gutting, and then, where do you think you stand right now with your momentum?
Well, Indy certainly derailed some. We were going to win a couple of races in a row and, 4 out of the last whatever. But, it was out of my control. And the reason I was so gutted, and there was no question in my mind that I I took Indy harder than I took the championship last year, as far as, you know, how my emotions felt afterwards. And when you think about, you know, the three main accomplishments that I would really like to check off: a championship, the Coke 600, and the Brickyard 400, I think about how the last three of those went. The championship, the tape. This Coke 600, the lead fell out leaving pit road. And the Brickyard 400, we're leading and we blow a tire. Like, I can't do anything else. Like, I'm trying to do everything I can to get those done. But I can take enough solace in knowing that I'm doing all I can to accomplish the goals that I want to accomplish. It just didn't work out. And the three of them haven't worked out right in a row, which is really extra, stings just a little bit more because, you know, okay, the championship, all right, we'll get another run at it. The 600, man, we were really fast and didn't even get a chance to show it. And then Brickyard's like, all right, well, at least we're going to get one of these three done in the last 12 months. And I'm counting down the laps, and I can't believe it. So it's heartbreaking, but I mean, we just ran like crap at Kentucky. All of our cars ran terrible except for Truex. But we go to Bristol, and I think me and Kyle were probably one of the two best cars. You know, I just started so far deep in the field, and just not enough laps to show that. So I'm confident we still got our momentum, and I'm going to drive into turn one at Texas as if I've got the fastest car again.
I wish you good luck this weekend. Thank you.
Thanks, Claire.
Okay, our next question from Randy Kovitz. Randy, go ahead with your question. Randy, can you hear us?
All right, there I am. How's that?
Good.
Denny?
We can hear you.
Hey, Randy Kovitz, Kansas City Star. I want to look forward to Kansas if I can. Well, you won last fall. Can you just kind of talk about the difference? You've really, in the fall, you've really showed that you finally could master this track in the fall, where you had some troubles in the fall before. You won in the spring before. What's the difference when the lights come out here?
Well, one thing that was different last year is our car was rocket fast. I mean, I did not go into that race thinking that we were going to dominate, and we got to the front and we just flat dominated. There was something about that setup that made me drive that track well. So I don't know if that was much driver on that one, but yeah, I was out of the blue. Yeah, I forget where we started in the fall, but certainly it was just a fast and dominating car, and we had to hold off a few guys in those final few restarts to win it. But yeah, Chris just nailed it on that one. And you know, anytime you have a car that handles as good as that one, it makes things a lot easier. But the good news is, like I talked about with Texas, there's not much change from the previous race to this one coming up. So I'm pretty optimistic about that one for sure.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to take our next question from Lee Spencer. Lee, go ahead with your question.
Thank you, Amanda. Hope you're doing well, Denny.
Thank
Wanted
you.
to ask you, Kyle Busch finished second the other night. He said that Gibbs cars have absolutely no speed. You've won 4 races. Truex has won a race. Where is the, I don't know, lack of beef in his argument?
Well, I think it's because one of us are hitting the setup perfectly during a given week. And that's how you can kind of tell an organization that has got fast cars. Let's bring Cali up, for instance. All of our cars, you know, we had one car maybe run towards the front, but all of us were not that good. But Hendrick had the race winner, and they had a bunch of guys in the top 5 or top 10. So that tells you right there. Hang on one second. Yo! Thank you. That's interesting. Sorry. So the cars, when you have an organization that has cars that's fast on a good, if your cars have speed, you don't have to hit the setup exactly perfect to be fast and be competitive and run for a race win. And what I think he's saying right now is that there's one of us that seems to be hitting it week in, week out and getting the setup closer to where it needs to be. And the cars don't have the all-out speed for us to make that box bigger. So that's probably what he's talking about. And I don't necessarily disagree that we do need more speed at this time.
Is there another organization out there right now that you think is sitting it on all 8 cylinders and has potential to kick your butt on a weekly basis, though?
Not week in, week out. No, I like our chances. But I would say that I don't think there's anyone. I mean, like you say, maybe Stuart Haas is, it looks like it's so week to week. Stuart Haas had cars that were up front at Kentucky. All their cars kind of were up front. Who knows? This week at Texas, JGR might look great and all of our cars be up front. I think that you make a valid point that there's no one that has sustained the strength as an organization through the whole year. Everyone thought it was Chevy's and Hendrick early on, and then that kind of faded, and Chase has been, stand out from that organization. But there's always been, looks like, one standout from each organization. Maybe Penske, the only consistent ones that have their 2 or 3 cars in the top 10 on a more consistent basis right now.
You think that unpredictability is coming from a lack of practice?
Yeah, it very well could be, because I think that it doesn't matter what organization it is, no 2 cars are running the same setup. Everyone is on a different setup in every organization. So I think that by not having practice, it's all on the crew chiefs, the engineers, and the drivers to think of the setup that they need, and someone is going to hit it better than the other. And you can't change the major parts and pieces under a pit stop. So you've kind of got what you got when you decide to unload.
Appreciate your time, sir.
You got it.
Okay, Dustin, I have time for one question. So, Dustin Long, go ahead.
Thank you. Denny, you referenced the traction compound being applied. Kevin Harvick raised some questions about what was done at Kentucky, saying he wasn't aware it was being added that race morning. He raised concerns about the track prep at Bristol, although Chase Elliott said, look, the race wasn't as long, so that's part of the reason why maybe the top group didn't get put in. Do you have concerns with how track prep is being done here lately, and what can be and how do you look forward to Texas, because track prep's important, and obviously you got in the traction compound at the end of stage 1 last fall and wrecked?
Yeah, I would say it's a sensitive subject with me personally because I work directly with NASCAR on the track prep. What's disappointing from my perspective, and on the record, I love the Smith family, but they go rogue sometimes when it comes to thinking that they're in the competition business. It's disappointing because the information that NASCAR gets from us on track prep and how to prepare the racetrack to put on the best possible racing comes from the drivers who do it themselves, and they know better than anyone. So, the decision that the track was prepped in a certain way, we weren't overjoyed with it to start the weekend, and we saw to start the Xfinity race, the first couple races, we had an issue, and we really need to work on it. And the issue is to let that main line run off. The only way to stop that one-lane racetrack is to let that wear out. And, with them just going in overnight and respraying that middle lane again before the race was just not ideal. And there was a lot of people that weren't happy with it. And, luckily, we had a 4 wide to the white fence, that saved the day as far as, hey, do we have a great race or not? But, man, I really wish, SMI in particular would just kind of listen to the guidance in which the drivers and NASCAR give them when coming to spraying these racetracks.
Thank you.
Got it.
Denny, we appreciate your time. We know that you have another sponsor commitment to get to, so we appreciate your time. We wish you the best of luck this weekend.
All right. Thank you very much.